Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But this is the lineup for today's show. We'll begin with the evacuation of the illegal foreign and Afghan citizen card holders from Pakistan, as well as the Pakistan's war against terrorism. There are certain correlations between the two, and we will discuss those in detail as part of the first segment of our show today. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, will concern the Gaza situation. Today is day 551. Multiple airstrikes have happened in the Shujaya neighborhood that have led to multiple casualties, and this is not the only place where the Israelis are bombarding the Palestinians. Also in the refugee camps, they are not even safe. The hospitals have almost no supplies of medicines, and almost 4 weeks have passed since the regular aid has entered the Gaza Strip. This and more will also be part of our second segment, and we'll also talk about France that has said it is going to accept the Palestinian state as a country, which is a huge diplomatic step in the right direction, not only for France but also for Palestine. Our third story will concern the Russian-US consultations that have concluded in Istanbul after almost 6 hours, and these were about the restoration of normal diplomatic ties and the opening of the embassies. But after 5.5 hours, no formal statement has been given. Still we need to know, or maybe we'll be told what has happened as part of these consultations. Finally, at a laboratory in Russia's Far East, scientists have carried out a post-mortem on a baby mammoth who had died almost 130,000 years ago. And of course, as evolution changes a lot of things, a lot of mystery surrounds the past of the different kingdoms, and this could be part of discovering some elements of that past. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns the evacuation of illegal foreign and Afghan citizen card holders from Pakistan, as well as the Pakistan's war against terrorism. We've been joined by Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal Sahab, who joins us after a bit of a time. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. It's a pleasure to have you in the studios. We'll also be joined by Zahir Shah Sherazi, who's a senior analyst who joins us all night. We'll begin with you. Without further ado, Dr. Zafar, what is the primary reason Pakistan initiated the evacuation of the illegal foreign national and Afghan citizen card holders? I'm just going straight away to the question. And what security concerns, in your point of view, have been linked to the continued presence of unregistered Afghan nationals in Pakistan?
There are two issues. First is that when we welcomed the Afghan refugees, at that time Afghanistan was unstable, war was there. So as a neighboring state, as a brotherly state, Pakistan opened arms, welcomed, and not only put them in the camps, but permitted them to move all over the country to make them comfortable. Now there is no war, there is a government, so they have to go back. So we can't bear. Because these, Afghans residing in Pakistan, they are having a negative impact on our economy, our society, our environment, and then comes your security, internal security as well. Here, one aspect is that many reports indicate that many Afghans are involved. Of course, these Afghans who are residing here, legally or illegally, they are not part of the terrorist activities, but the suburbs in which they are living, they are used by the terrorists. Because Afghans came to go back, we cannot identify. So that is the problem. I'm not alleging all the Afghans. Maybe within the Afghans, there are a few rotten eggs, but those eggs are there. Finally, when the Afghan Taliban is not cooperating with us, then why do we bear their burden, their community burden, let them to bear their burden by themselves. It's a legitimate thing. These, you can say, activists of United Nations, which is, United Nations human rights, or these people are protesting. If you see that, they can bear. They can give us Afghan refugees same, you can say, assistance as they are providing refugees assistance to the European countries. Above all, according to them, many of them are not registered, they are not refugees, they say they are economic immigrants. And finally, when we look about these things, Afghans who are coming to Pakistan, majority of them, they were the beneficiaries of the previous regime, they were part of the previous regime, and for the last 20-25 years, they were alleging Pakistan, and now they have wanted to reside in Pakistan. Actually, which is not coming up, overwhelming majority of these Afghans, some of them, they came here for a medical treatment, but actually they are here waiting for the visas. Different missions like US mission, like the German mission, they had promised them when they were withdrawing that okay, they will be given and they will be settled in Afghanistan, in their respective European or other countries, but they are not doing their own or playing their own role. So as a result, it's a burden on our national security. When I look the national security, not only with one perspective, with the multi-faced challenges. So definitely government of Pakistan very politely announced since last 18 months, we are working, we are giving them a deadline, please, you shall go to your home. They go there and then they come back, so that is the problem.
All right. Also, Dr. Zafar, you talked about the different question marks that are being emanated from different sectors, especially the international organizations. How is Pakistan, in your point of view, balancing its humanitarian responsibilities with national interest in this evacuation process?
I think that Pakistan is giving more importance to the humanitarian, and of course, state's primary responsibility to protect its national interest and national security. Without the national security, state cannot survive. So it's a what you call a tightrope for Pakistani government, current government, to work on it. Do not, you can say, undermine the humanitarianism and at the same time not undermine Pakistan national security. But generally, when we say we have a cultural, you can say historical, religious affinity with these Afghans, but unfortunately, my national security is jeopardized because of Afghanistan.
I understand. Zahir Shah Sherazi, thank you very much to have joined us. How is this evacuation process of illegal Afghan nationals and those with the Afghan citizen card holders, tied to Pakistan's broader national security and counter-terrorism policies? And in your point of view, how do security concerns that Pakistan has, specifically such as terrorism, play in Pakistan's decision to evacuate these illegal foreign nationals?
Well, thank you very much, Omar. As Jaspal was saying, I will just go on further. Obviously, I think Pakistan's western border has become a serious issue as far as the security and attacks on Pakistan is concerned, because we have seen since 2014, we have the highest number of attacks both in Balochistan and the former FATA, the merged areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and they are along the border. And obviously, about 80% of these incidents, when they were, traced out, their perpetrators, their planners, and their executors even were sitting in Afghanistan. As far as the Kabul government is concerned, it is never accepting this responsibility despite repeatedly being asked. The refugee issue is one side. Perhaps the international community and the Kabul government is trying to, blackmail Pakistan humanitarianly. But on the other hand, we can see this is the third time the international community has dished Afghanistan, especially this Pak-Afghan region. What is UNHCR doing for these refugees? Nothing. What is the international community doing for these illegal Afghans? I won't say they are refugees, because we have only 1.3 million refugees, Afghan refugees, which are registered with the UNHCR, with the UN system, and with the Pakistani Afghan Commission. They are officially declared refugees, and their deadline is 30th June, and after that they would have to be asked to leave. But at this moment, we have the ACC card holders who are about 8 lakh, and then we have some illegal Afghan nationals who are living here, but we don't have the number exactly, but it is estimated they are more than about 1.5 million. And then the fourth kind of refugees were those who are waiting for their transit visas, and they are sitting in Islamabad, living in posh hotels. And even the countries that Dr. Jaspal was mentioning, they are not willing to give them the transit visa. So who is responsible for it? I think it's okay. We have kept them for more than 4 decades. They had been here. We have provided them jobs. We have provided them protection. They had been living here very close to our hearts, but still, the security issue is very serious. A number of these people, they are not registered. They don't have any data, and they, not all of who are living in suburban districts of the merged areas, also in far-off areas of Balochistan, they had been sheltering those hostile elements, those militant elements. And now we have open proof that the Afghan Taliban had been fighting along with the Fitna al-Khawarij TTP. So obviously this is a very serious. As far as Pakistan is concerned, I think Pakistan's priority. So sending these illegal.
All right, we will of course come back to you. There is a little bit of a technical glitch as far as hearing your voice is concerned. Dr. Jaspal, what long-term strategies, in your point of view, Pakistan needs to have to prevent future illegal immigration and manage border control more effectively? We know how the Afghan interim government, or not, I wouldn't say the Afghan interim government, but terrorist outfits have used the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan also in various skirmishes in the last few weeks and months.
No, since 2017, Pakistan has started strengthening its border management. We went for mega investment on the border, barbed wire and all these kind of the things. And we start adding the exit and control points also, and also managing those exit and control points. I think that Pakistan has to increase the efficiency of these exit and control points like the Chaman, Tokham, etc., etc. Besides that, we have to make more, provide more facilities there, but at the same time, we have to engage the Afghan side that they also cooperate, because alone we cannot do it.
Of course.
Pakistan and Afghanistan has a big trade volume, and especially the people-to-people contact and our fruit trades from both sides. It's very essential, therefore we have to maintain it. But at the same time, not at the cost of Pakistan's national security. I think that Pakistan has to adopt the similar policies, the way the Central Asians are dealing with the Afghans. Any Afghan which is trying to cross the border, any illegally, they shoot them. So you have to take those measures. Apart from that, of course, these kind of the border crossings, you can say illegal crossings, the agencies which are monitoring the borders, they are equally responsible. So we have to increase their capacity. Sometimes deliberately some people are involved in smuggling, but not the entire institution. But institution needs more, it needs more equipment, modern gadgets to monitor the border, because in modern time you have a surveillance to the drones, you have a surveillance to the radars, and you have a rapid forces in the shape of drones or in the shape of what you call it helicopters. But at the same time, you have to increase your striking power, that because the border of 2,650 kilometer border is a porous, ungovernable, hilly track, very difficult border. So even if you saw someone is illegally crossing, by reaching there by you can say border security forces, may take time for 3 to 4 hours.
All right.
So you need a rapid like a heli or some drones, but you have to be very firm. You have to now get rid of this brotherly relationship. You have to focus on country relationship, national relationship.
On reciprocity, that is based on reciprocity.
So this word, which was very commonly used, that is now, we have to change it and transform it. Besides that, we have to educate our people. We have to create more jobs. Look, when we have integrated erstwhile FATA, at that time, we have integrated, we cleared it, but we have to rebuild it. For rebuilding, of course, there are more finances are required, and for that, we have to take our people in those areas in confidence, trust building, so they also not facilitate them in that kind of illegal migration.
All right. Also, at a recent 5th meeting of the Board of Governors of NACTA, it was decided to create or establish the National Intelligence Fusion and Threat Assessment Center. And it has, of course, various objectives, and one of its core objectives is to, deal or tackle with the menace of terrorism. How important is the establishment of NIFTAC, and what role should it be given?
Look, I think that since last 1 year, the government has been upgrading its counter-terrorism strategy or measures, where it started with this engaging diplomatically the neighboring states or the other states in that. They also started improving their own, you can say, capacity. Intelligence agencies capacity, the analyst capacity in this context, the narrative building capacity. Of course, this institution, the fusion institution which they are creating for the intelligence network connecting. Because in the modern time, the terrorists are equally well equipped with the weapons, well equipped with the other communication gadgets. So you have to overcome. That traditional era is over. So pooling the resources in one and then moving ahead with a new thinking, with a new institutional approach, I think it's a right step in the right direction.
All right.
So I have a confidence, I'm very much confident that with this NACTA's approach to sharing and improving the, you can say, intelligence gathering and then acting together or reacting together, I think that makes sense. The advantage of this is that if you have to fight with this terrorism or the foreign sponsored military, you can say armed groups, reaction is not a choice. Proactive action or imminence is a choice. So proactivism rather than a reaction or reactive policy. So for a proactive strategy, you need intelligence so that before time you can understand, you know it, and you are able to respond.
All right. Dr. Jaspal, also in the last few weeks, there's the National Prevention of Violent Extremism policy that has also been implemented, and also that goes another, as you said, in the same direction of the government's efforts to further, work against the menace of terrorism in a very proactive manner, as you also pointed out. But recently, whether it be Balochistan, whether it be Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or even other parts, we are seeing an increase in the number of terrorist incidents. We have seen what happened, and most of them are targeting police officers or the defense forces personnel, but also civilians are being targeted more than they used to be in the previous months. In your point of view, as somebody who understands regional dynamics, why is there a constant uptick in terrorist activities? What is the basic aim or methodology behind it?
Look, basic aim or methodology is very simple. Afghanistan became a safe haven. According to the international United Nations, I'm forgetting that organization, it's a United Nations organization. I wrote in one of my previous column also, it estimated, it said that there is a collaboration between the Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan under the umbrella or patronage of the Taliban government. And Al-Qaeda is not only providing them finances, training, and some kind of the recruitment processes. Now, this is not my statement, not my government statement. This is a statement of the or finding of the United Nations report. Now, when we focus on these kind of the things, that gives us an idea that the militant groups, they are prospering, or you can say these terrorist groups, they are prospering in the Afghanistan. Terrorist syndicates have more today, easier go, and above all, what the Americans left. There is 1,000 numbers of the weapons which have been left in Afghanistan, and most sophisticated American weapon, which is in Afghanistan, which is now used by these terrorists. So, my law enforcement agencies, which are fighting, bravely fighting, and we are seeing every day the martyrs, but what they are doing, they are fighting bravely, but they are fighting with the opponent, which is a well-trained, well-equipped, well-funded, well-supported, not only by one state, but a number of the others.
All right.
But in that case, they have increased. But if you see in the recent few days, the control seems is now emerging. But of course, we have to first admit it. We have to admit it that which kind of this insurgency or a conflict is there. And then we have to respond those conflict with a more holistic approach rather than only one approach. I understand militant groups only understand the power of fire. They are not ready to rehabilitate. But still, there are many other people who are victim of collateral damage. We have to focus on them.
All right. Zahir Sherazi, when Dr. Jaspal talks of a holistic approach that needs to be, taken up by the Pakistani government in order to deal with the menace of terrorism, what more would you like to add as far as such an approach is concerned? Because we see the number of incidents that are not decreasing in any way whatsoever, and despite various, number of times that we have talked to the Afghan side, the recent also visit by our special representative has reaped no tangible result whatsoever. What is the reason behind that as well?
Well, Omar, I think, the kinetic operations alone, I think it has also not given any results. But yes, now, if we see the Kabul government has clearly conveyed to Pakistan that perhaps the TTP is not willing to lay down their arms, and on what terms and conditions would be negotiating with them. But yes, you have to adopt a multi-pronged strategy. All those elements who are willing to lay down their arms, who are willing to accept the writ of the Pakistani state, perhaps it's possible to speak to them Because we have seen for such like 3 to 4 decades of war, if the United States and the international coalition had to negotiate with the Kabul Taliban, but that is another thing. The Fitnal Khawarij or the TTP are a few people, or a few percent of people, like maybe like 10,000 to 20,000. It's not possible to, the rate of the state should be challenged by them, and we should be, going to their demands. Obviously, another thing is that they are a declared terrorist group. Both BLA, the TTP, and the ISK. They are all terrorist groups declared by the United Nations, the international community. So there is no other reason that if Kabul is not taking action against them, Pakistan should be waiting. Another important.
Sherazi, we're a bit short of time. Thank you very much to have joined us.
Let me
Nevertheless,
make one point
yes.
before leaving it.
Yes.
When I said holistic approach, it's a time. It's a time for all the stakeholders of the security of Pakistan, whether they are institutions, whether they are politicians in the government and opposition. They have to negotiate a charter of counter-terrorism. Without that charter of counter-terrorism, we will be not moving ahead.
All right.
It's a responsibility of the government that it can initiate a process, and then we can move towards the charter of counter-terrorism, and on the basis of that, we try to get rid of this menace.
All right. Finally, Jaspal Sahab, I'd like to understand the different contacts that Pakistan has had with the US concerning counter-terrorism. There has been a meeting between the acting US ambassador and Mohsin Naqvi Sahab, in which it was decided that there will be a counter-terrorism dialogue in June this year. Then it was Pakistan handed over one of the terrorists to the US, and that was openly acknowledged by Donald Trump recently as well. There was a telephonic conversation between Marco Rubio and Ishaq Dar very recently as well, to also talk about counterterrorism as one of the different topics of discussion. Can Pakistan engage the US as far as counterterrorism efforts to get rid of such terrorist outfits?
I think, why not? We are not an, say, enemy of the United States. We are a friend. We had a strategic partner. Still, though our military interests diverge, on China we have a divergence policy, but there are a number of areas. America is one of the biggest trade partners of Pakistan. Still, America is one of the best destined for our research and other academic activities. So, on a terrorism, we must coordinate, we must cooperate, but not at the cost of any other country.
All right. Point taken. Thank you very much, Dr. Zafar, Nawaz, Jaspal Sahab, to have joined us in the studios for this very important segment concerning Pakistan, this security paradigm that Pakistan needs to tackle with effectively. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's come to our second story, and our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns, of course, Gaza and day 551 of the Middle East crisis that has engulfed Gaza again, despite the peace talks that had begun, despite the first phase of peace, of ceasefire that had happened. The whole phase of barbarism by Israel continues to date, and 1,000 plus people have been killed brutally since the 18th of March this year. A lot needs to be done by international communities. A lot still is being looked towards by the Palestinians as far as the situation in Gaza is concerned. The strikes on by Israel on Palestine continue, whether it be on the Shujaa neighborhood, whether it be on the different refugee camps, and the people are in dire straits because not only do they not have the required medicine or the hospital facilities, because most of the hospitals are either completely destroyed or do not have the facilities, and then they don't even have the necessary basic facilities of food and water in order to survive, because Israel, since the last 30 plus days, has not allowed food or other such facilities to enter the locality. To discuss that and more, we've been joined by Matthew Bryza, former ambassador, senior White House and State Department official online, and in the studios we've been joined by Wajih Abbasi Sahab, who's a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Wajih Sahab, to have joined us, and Matthew, thank you very much to have joined us. All right, so I'll begin with you, Wajih Sahab. Wajih Sahab, Pakistan says that any attempt to forcibly displace Palestinians or annex their land must be unequivocally rejected and effectively prevented. This was happening during informal consultations in New York on this upcoming high-level international conference on the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine, and this was highlighted by Asim Iftikhar Sahab, who's our permanent representative to the UN. How important has been, in your point of view, I wanted to begin with Pakistan's role as far as this conflict is concerned. How important has been Pakistan's voice and Pakistan's role vis-a-vis the Palestinian conflict?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, even before the establishment of Israel, when the resolution was being put in the United Nations, and even before when India was not gained independence, Pakistan not came into being. We had we have been always been supporting the Palestinian cause. And after 1979 when this two-state solution thing has got currency in the world, Pakistan has always supported this two-nation settlement, that the Palestinians should have their separate state in the West Bank and Gaza and the East Jerusalem, which was occupied by Israel in 1967 war. And that has been consistent policy. It has always been Pakistan's policy, and that's what now more or less almost 160 countries in the world adopt this policy, and more than 160 countries in the world recognize Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza, though it is still occupied and Israel doesn't allow that state to function. Even though in 1993, the Oslo Agreement, Israel and the PLO had, under the United States supervision, they had accepted the two-state solution, that they will allow the independent Palestinian state in those areas. So that's Pakistan's policy. And as far as the eviction of the Palestinians from Gaza is concerned, that is worst kind of ethnic cleansing, which we have already seen ethnic cleansing in the whole of what is now Israel, because the Palestinian was uprooted from those territories which now comprise Israel, and they were pushed to other countries, and in Gaza and West Bank also, and in Jordan, in Lebanon, in many other countries. But another uprooting of those people from Gaza will be should be unacceptable to any person who has human rights and human dignity in its mind. So I think Pakistan has rightly put it in the United Nations, and that's what our policy has been.
All right, all right. We've also been joined now by Matthew Bryza, who's a former ambassador and senior White House and State Department official. Matthew, thank you very much to have joined us. Matthew, a letter signed by around 1,000 Israeli current and retired reservists calls for an end to the war on Gaza, but it has created an uproar in Israel. The Israeli military chief of staff says they are going to be fired from their service. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, issues a very harsh statement saying this noisy fringe group is mobilized for one group to overthrow the government. It does not represent the fighters of the public. The letter does not call for a general refusal to serve, but urges Israeli officials to prioritize the release of captives. Is there an internal strife, political or otherwise, within Israel? What are going to be its consequences? Can the Israeli government curtail this wave of people who no longer support the continuity of violence within the Palestinian territory?
Well, yes, there's tremendous civil resistance. There have been demonstrations now, every day in Tel Aviv against Netanyahu's approach to the war on the Palestinians in Gaza. The battle cry of the protesters has been, you need to focus first on securing the release of the hostages, to which Netanyahu has replied, well, the best way to do so is to continue the military operations. And that point of view is becoming increasingly unpopular publicly, but there's still, I think, a majority of Israelis who agree with that. But now, based on what you just said, Mr. Booth, now the fact that of these Israeli former military officers that have written this letter, that is significant. That is a new level of opposition, and it's one that's not politicized. Netanyahu could claim it's just his political opponents, the ones who were demanding, reforms of the of the legal system, that were out there protesting against the military operations in Gaza. But now it's different. When it's these military officers, that could be significant. Though I think still we shouldn't underestimate the extent to which Israeli society is still in shock, even today, by October 7th, which generates overarching desire to keep on fighting Hamas.
Matthew, I'd also like to, speaking again of the Israeli wave of discord as far as this Israeli government stance as far as the violence is concerned. Around 360 Israeli medical professionals, half of them who are doctors, have also signed a letter demanding an investigation and prosecution of the Israeli troops who have been involved in the killing of the 15 Palestinian emergency workers in Gaza. You remember that happened, and Israel in the beginning wanted to diffuse it, saying it did not happen, and then where the video surfaced and the whole world was in shock. Will the perpetrators ever face justice? Because this is not the only incident, is it?
No, it's not the only incident. These are tragically all too common. I think this one was so appalling in fact that it was documented by the victims, and there's no way to explain away this war crime. And so, and it's so wise that you raised this issue as well. Like the case of the military officer's letter, this could be an inflection point or a turning point as well. The outrage it's not universal to these outright murders and massacres of these health workers, but it's growing. And as a cliche in American politics, how did everything fall apart? What was the process? And the cliche is, at first everything moved very slowly, and then suddenly everything changed. So there's pressure building on the Netanyahu regime, not to mention his criminal cases. But he is one of the wiliest and most effective political survivors on the world stage today. He's made it this far, but it really does feel like serious pressure against him is building across society at this point.
All right. Final question to you, Matthew, concerns the Israeli settlers and their role, whether it be in the occupied West Bank, whether it be in occupying their territories, whether it be in putting ablaze the cars and the properties of the Palestinians, or whether it be in storming the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound that has recently happened under the protection of Israeli forces. And we all know the importance of the Al-Aqsa as far as the holy sites is concerned. Is no site, or no respect even left as far as the holiest of sites are concerned within the Muslim community, and to which extent are the Israeli settlers also going to move forward with, of course, the patronage of the Israeli government?
Well, when it comes to the Al-Aqsa, and that being the third holiest site in Islam, I think that extremists in the Netanyahu cabinet, like ministers Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, what they say is, yeah, but the Temple Mount is the number one holiest site in Judaism. So that's a debate that's ongoing within Israel, where you've got the people who defend human rights and democracy saying we have to treat our Muslim fellow citizens with respect. But then you've got the extremists who are pushing Netanyahu, of course, on the additional settlements, who are saying, oh, this is number one for us, the Temple Mount, and it belongs to us, and we're doing the right thing. I obviously strongly disagree with that approach. When it comes to the settlers, it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is set on pushing them out. Pushing out the Palestinians from the West Bank and from Gaza, and keeping the settlements going. And so far, he seems to have the support of President Trump himself. So this is an ominous moment in the Middle East, and from the Palestinians' perspective, I mean, there's no way they're going to agree to be displaced, and there are no countries in the world that are willing to accept displaced Palestinians. So it seems like the Netanyahu course is a recipe for failure and confrontation, and across the front, all of the issues we've been discussing. But he's determined. He knows that he has to keep up this aggressive line to keep his government intact, and something's got to give. And I don't know what that's going to be.
That is a big question, isn't it? Thank you very much, Matthew Bryza, to have joined us as far as the latest in Palestinian situation is concerned. Coming back to you, Wajih Abbasi Saab, first of all, the Israeli Defense Minister Katz says the army is seizing large areas of Gaza. It will retain control of a key buffer zone near the border with Egypt. A lot of reports talk about almost 50% of the Gaza Strip now being occupied by Israel. To add to that is the Palestinians that are being ruthlessly killed, left, right and center, whether it be the Shujaya neighborhood, whether it be the refugee camps, whether it be other areas of Palestine. There is no discrimination whatsoever, despite whatever they might say. At least 50,846 Palestinians have been killed. This is officially, but the government says also that the figure could be twice or thrice higher. All the buildings, most of the buildings have been destroyed. Where is this all going to lead to, in your point of view?
Really, if you see the destruction in Gaza, which we have seen in last 2 years, or 1.5 years, that is worst destruction of any populated area since Second World War. The Allied bombing of Tokyo or Dresden, other cities of Germany and Japan was quite devastating. But this is, it seems to be even at that scale. And this is the destruction actually of the world order, which was built after the Second World War to stop that type of actions or that type of tragedies. And this is what, I mean, we haven't seen that sort of things happening anywhere in the world. Gaza, as you know, is a small area. It's overpopulated, highly overpopulated area. It's just 300 square kilometer area, in which more than 2 million people are living, and they have been bombing everything to the ground for the last 1.5 years. And now they, if they push, when sometimes they say that they will push all the Palestinians out of Gaza, and sometimes they say that they will take out some buffer zone in Gaza. There is no space in Gaza to make a buffer zone or something like that. So it's it's the world community which must must oppose Israeli actions. But unfortunately, in this unipolar world, which we have these, I mean, after the 1990s, in this unipolar world, there is no balance. Because of this lack of balance, Israel is doing what it is doing for the last 1.5 years. Otherwise, no nation would have been allowed to do that. That type of total I mean, destruction of a whole community. This is worst kind of ethnic cleansing. You kill people mercilessly.
True.
And they are defenseless people. Frankly, I personally, I believe that what the Palestinians, I mean, the Hamas did on October 7 was probably maybe uncalled for, and that shouldn't have been done probably. But they have, it's not the people of Palestine which should be, pay the consequences.
I agree with you on that. You talked about the number of countries that have accepted the state of Palestine. 147 you have said out of 193, and even since this whole conflict began, Mexico, Armenia, Norway, Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Barbados have also accepted, and now France is also saying that it is going to accept the nationhood, the Palestinian nationhood, starting from June this year. That has taken a very harsh reaction, as far as the Israeli foreign minister is concerned, who says a unilateral recognition of a fictional Palestinian state by any country is, in the reality that we all know, will be a prize for terror and a boost for Hamas. These will not bring peace, security and stability in our region, but the opposite. They will only push them farther away. Why is Israel even, I mean, there's one thing to create a complete violent atmosphere, barbaric atmosphere in Palestine, and secondly, you do not even allow anybody else, any major world power, and France is a member of the United Nations Security Council for that matter. You don't even allow other countries to accept the Palestinian nation, and if they do, they also, they put them in the same fray as Palestine. Isn't this a blatant disregard for all democratic or humanitarian rights?
That's what Israel has been. So one shouldn't be surprised. But the fact is that the Israeli politicians should also think about the reaction which the world has been giving of their actions since October 7. as you said, that there are quite many countries which have recognized the
Yes,
Palestinian
around 10
state.
have recognized them
Yes,
since the conflict began.
Yeah. And those are the countries actually which originally were supporters of Israel, and which they were the original pro-Israel voters in the United Nations in 1948. Mexico and Argentina and those sort of central
Spain.
Spain. Yeah. So they have been their supporters over the years. So they should think of it. But well, let me point out the Israeli political system, the way the Israeli political system is working. It's sort of an hostage to the extremist elements in that society, because as you know, the Israelis have the proportional representation system, in which every party gets the votes, as many seats in the parliament as they get the votes. It's not like our first past the post system. In that system, the no party gets the majority. Now even this Netanyahu government is actually based on the strength of those extremist political parties, and he has to take them in sort of good humor by doing all these things to keep their support. So that has been one of the main reasons. Even though Netanyahu, the Likud party itself is quite extremist to the right of the center, but other parties are on the extreme right, which are supporting him. So that is another sort of reason for the continued Israeli objections to any sort of ceasefire or agreement with the Palestinian people or on the issue of Gaza or even West Bank, because they have been bombing and taking military action in the West Bank also. It's not been confined to Gaza.
Exactly, and in the West Bank they are trying to occupy as much land as possible, because this is the ultimate aim, is to occupy the occupied West Bank as well and create more settlements, and that is why the Israeli settlers are also playing a role in disembarking the original Palestinians from there and then taking hold of their lands and burning their lands and their properties and their cars. And this is a whole list. I mean, also the humanitarian situation, whether it be the lack of medicine, the lack of food, water, and I don't know what is this greater Israeli plan, is to maybe exterminate every single Palestinian that is present in the in Gaza, or maybe force them to such a state that they have no option but to displace themselves. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days, but the current situation, Wajih Sahab, to be very frank, is not very optimistic. But this is the time when the world needs to be as one and work in a united manner against all such violence and barbarism. Thank you very much, Wajih Abbasi, to have joined us. We'll come to our last two stories very, very quickly. The first concerns the Russian-US consultations that have ended in Istanbul after almost 6 hours, around 5.5 hours. The US and Russian delegations met for talks to restore the functioning of their embassies, which had drastically scaled back staffing following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. But these 5.5 hours of talks have apparently not yielded some concrete results, because there has been no statement by any of the side once these talks ended. But we will also be waiting for maybe some official statement or confirmation on what actually happened. But let's see as far as this is concerned. Nevertheless, there is a quite change in the US attitude vis-a-vis Russia and vis-a-vis this whole conflict between Russia and Ukraine as well. Finally, at a laboratory in Russia's Far East, ladies and gentlemen, scientists have carried out a post-mortem examination on a baby mammoth who had died around 130,000 years ago. Discovered last year, this calf, who is nicknamed Yana, is in a remarkable state of preservation, giving scientists a glimpse into the past, or how these animals used to live, or how they used to survive in those days. And the preservation is also very unique, that such an animal could have retained most of its consistency even after 130,000 years. Maybe this will open up new avenues into our past, into past survival of humankind and animal kind as well. Interesting discoveries as far as science is concerned. With that, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.